Love and Other Words by Christina Lauren, book summary. There are some people who meet the loves of their life early, and it's almost as if their souls imprint on each other. Told in alternating timelines between then and now, teenage Elliot and Macy grow from friends to much more, spending weekends and lazy summers together in a house outside of San Francisco, devouring books, sharing favorite words, and talking through their growing pains and triumphs. The story is told through a dual timeline, past and present, following Macy, who moves into the summer house next door to Elliot, a boy her age. Throughout the years, you get to watch Macy and Elliot grow from strangers to friends, then to companions, and finally to first loves. In the present day, you see Macy struggling in a relationship that she isn't satisfied with hints that something terrible happened in her and Elliot's past to break them apart. Throughout the story, you get to see present-day Macy and Elliot solve their problems while also learning about what shattered their world in the first place. The purpose of this summary is to encourage the audience to actually read the book, as no summary could ever convey the magical words written by the author. The story told in the current time and flashbacks show us both that imprinting process and the fallout of what happens when they spend a decade apart after a series of unfortunate events. Heavy on angst and introspection, this read is a must for fans of emotional tales with happily ever afters. Let's take a closer look. Love and Other Words is a novel written by the writing duo Christina Hobbs and Lauren Billings, which was published under the pen name Christina Lauren. The novel tells the story of Macy and Elliot, who meet in their early teens as neighbors in a small San Francisco Bay Area town. Macy has just lost her mother to cancer, and Elliot comes from a large family in which he is the youngest boy. The two characters fall in love, have a falling out, and reconnect 11 years later. The story is divided into present-day chapters, now, and flashback chapters, then. Although it's classified as adult fiction, it seems like it's more of a contemporary romance with more angst than anything else, but it's not romance. The main characters are concerned primarily with their relationship, and the book emphasizes romantic attraction and includes explicit sex scenes, brief discussions of drug addiction, and a reference to sexual assault. Beyond the romance, the book explores the theme of the isolating effect of grief. The title comes from the fact that Macy and Elliot share a love of literature and language and frequently ask each other what their favorite word is. The book is divided into a prologue and 46 chapters alternating between then and now. The chapters labeled Then tell the story of a young teen, Macy Sorensen, who lost her mother to cancer when she was 10. She and her father live in Berkeley, California, but her father buys a weekend house up the coast in Healdsburg, where Macy befriends her neighbor Elliot. They bond over a mutual love of reading and tell one another their favorite new words. Macy holds back some of her feelings, especially about the death of her mother, but Elliot helps her open up by giving her a copy of Bridge to Terabithia. They eventually develop romantic feelings for one another, but Macy is reluctant to commit to a relationship because she's afraid of ruining their friendship, and she realizes they don't really know each other that well. She eventually agrees to be Elliot's girlfriend, and one afternoon, while her father is away, they have sex for the first time. In the present day, Macy is a young doctor who works in pediatrics, and Elliot works for a literacy nonprofit. They both work in the city but have not seen one another in 11 years. Macy is engaged and Elliot has a girlfriend. The now timeline begins when Macy runs into Elliot at a coffee shop. She reveals that something 11 years ago caused them to have a falling out, but she doesn't say what it was. She tells him about her engagement and that their relationship from the past is over, but then she changes her mind. She invites him to dinner and then to meet up with her friends and fiancé at a park. Eventually, Macy realizes she's still in love with Elliot. She breaks up with her fiancé, Sean, and then goes with Elliot to his brother's wedding, where things finally come to a head. Before we continue, let's talk about the main characters first. Macy is a pediatric resident whose past has scarred her heart. Battered from carrying a lifetime of anger and heartbreak, she has chosen a career that demands her emotional distance and a fiancé who demands nothing from her. Seeing her ex-boyfriend and first love for the first time in 11 years effectively shatters Macy, sending her into a tailspin of emotions she has no idea how to handle. From there we watch and wait, knowing something horrible is coming because there are only a few things that could have separated these two. Elliot, on the other hand, is a sexy nerd whose love of books led him to Macy and the beginning of their epic friendship, but it was his love for her that kept him there. Part of a large, boisterous family, he swept Macy up into his orbit and never let her go. He has never stopped loving her and has no idea why she left him. He thinks he hurt her sexually, but as the story unfolds, you realize that there was a lot of miscommunication, immaturity, fear, and some taking for granted in their relationship. Now, let's take a look at what may have caused these passionate lovers to break up, as it then seemed forever. The book's last chapters reveal what happened 11 years ago. On New Year's Eve, a drunk Elliot calls Macy and asks her to marry him. She isn't ready to have the conversation over the phone, so he hangs up disappointed. She drives to the house party where Elliot has been drinking with his friends and finds him passed out naked with his friend Emma on his chest. The next day, Macy is in a car with her father. He is so preoccupied with comforting her that he doesn't see a car coming their way and ends up being killed in the collision. Macy shuts down and refuses to return Elliot's calls. She goes to college and has several unsatisfying relationships. Elliot cannot touch another woman for years and continues to love Macy. Back in the now timeline, Macy finally reveals all this to Elliot, who understands why she wouldn't return his calls. He explains that the night of the party 11 years ago, he was so drunk he thought that he was making out with Macy. He had not heard about Macy's dad dying. Then they make amends, and Macy finally cries out all the grief she's been holding. In the final chapter, Elliot proposes they move in together. He asks Macy her favorite word, and she says, "you." Watching Macy and Elliot connect again is as heartwarming as it is heartbreaking. The chemistry between them is hot, sticky, and emotional, but there is a lot Macy needs to resolve and bring out into the open before she can move forward, regardless if it is with Elliot or anyone else. The personable cast of secondary characters helps to shape and mold the story with their own memories. Everyone in here, from Macy's father to Macy's fiancé's little girl, has some effect on Macy and Elliot's life. Macy's bestie Sabrina is the voice of reason in Macy's maelstrom. The Petropoulos family is a huge boisterous family whose unconditional love for Macy remains constant. The ending is predictable and somewhat rushed, but very nice in how it plays out. This book is an engaging contemporary that will have you smiling and sobering as you watch Macy fight her way through memories, misconceptions, and heartache to her way back to life and love. This story is soaked with emotions, and it is done so well that you'll find yourself cheering Macy and Elliot on, trying to direct them past the awkward parts. Here is just enough to keep the reader happy as the novel weaves its way to the big reveal. What was the reason for Macy and Elliot's parting? There are small wins and tiny glimpses toward the future. The secret reveal is done really well. What's better is that the big divide between the two is 100% plausible. It's realistic and not reliant on hundreds of other things. The writing is honest and pulls no punches. By getting inside Macy's head, the reader can fully explore her thoughts and feelings for and against Elliot at all ages. The strength of this novel is the feelings that pour from the page. The characters are beautifully built, real and flawed, while the dialogue is true. Asking each other about their favorite word is a great summary of the pair's feelings toward each other, and this book makes a perfect choice for those looking for a sweet, adorable, yet also super tear-jerking read. This brings us to the end of today's video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, And also make sure to hit the bell button so you can get notified whenever there's a new book summary ready for you.